What is a line plot? A line plot is a special type of graph that we use to visually see data. More specifically, a line plot is a special type of graph that shows the frequency of categorical data by putting x's above numbers on a line. To better get an idea of line plots, let's take a look at an example of one. And luckily to help us out, there's already a table of values that we can use. Here, this table represents the height of 5 2-year-olds, and that height is in inches. Here we have a column for the specific height in inches, and here we have a column for the frequency. Remember, frequency is how many times that specific data point occurs. So here we have a frequency of 1. That means that only one 2-year-old has a height of 32 inches. So, let's use this table and create a line plot. To do that, we're going to need a title. So, let's pick the same title as what we have for our table. We'll have the height of 5 2-year-olds, and that height is in inches. Perfect. Now that we have this title, we're going to need a line, since we're creating a line plot. So, we draw a line just like this. Now we need to put tick marks on this line. And for this table, our tick marks need to be the height in inches. We need to account for all of the heights, and they need to be put in numerical order. So our first tick mark will start out being 32. Then we go up to 33. Then we have 34, 35, and finally 36. Perfect. Now that we have our line set up with our labels, we need to start making the axes. In a line plot, each ax represents one data point. So take a look here again. The height of 32 inches has a frequency of 1. So again, only one 2-year-old had that specific height. So on our line plot above 32, we put 1x to show that frequency of 1. Then we move on to 33 inches. That has a frequency of 0. So no 2-year-olds had that height. That means we do not put any x's above that tick mark on our number line. But we want to keep 33 on the line because we want to show in this line plot that no children had that height. Then we move on to 34 inches. We see that has a frequency of 3. So 3 2-year-olds had that height of 34 inches. That means we want to put 3 x's above 34 on that line plot to represent those 3 2-year-olds. Great. Looking at 35 inches, we have a frequency of 0. So again, there are no x's right here. Then, the height of 36 inches has a frequency of 1. So one child has that height. We put 1x above 36. And now we've created our line plot. Okay, so we have a line plot. But besides being pretty fun to make, what's the point? Well, line plots can tell us quite a bit about our data. So let's take a minute to look at how we can interpret line plots. Line plots use discrete data. That's data that falls into categories. Here we can see our data falls into particular inches. If our data were to be continuous, or fall into intervals, then we would use a histogram instead of a line plot. Now line plots are great for seeing the frequency of data, how often a data point occurs. By taking a quick look at the axes, we can see that 34 has more x's than any other tick mark. That is the mode. Here, 34 inches would be the mode of this data because it has the most number of x's. Now line plots are also useful for showing the distribution of data. Since our data is organized numerically on a number line, we can easily see where the data is clumped. If our data is clumped in the middle, like ours is, then that data is symmetrical. On the other hand, if our data is clumped to, say, one side, then that data is skewed. So, now we've seen a couple uses of line plots, and we can see that line plots are pretty cool.